Hiya, Martin here. Thank you for joining me for this week's turning project video. I hope you're all well and you've had a good few weeks being nice and creative in your workshops. Now tomorrow is the 22nd of September, which is the first day of autumn, and because I haven't done much turning for a while, I thought I'd do something a little bit similar. So I'm going to turn a little potpourri pot using this little pewter filigree thing, whatever they call it, lid. And on the lathe I've got a piece of spalted beech, which measures, how big is it? It is about 4.5 by 3. About 4.5 by 3, and I'm going to colour it. I think most probably going to colour it in kind of autumnal fall colours, just to make it, you know, really nice and sort of sumptuous and warm as the nights are drawing in and the temperatures are dropping. It's mounted onto a worm screw, and I've orientated it like this because I really love this pattern here, and I want to keep as much of that as possible. So first of all, I'm going to turn it round and then put a tenon on the bottom, so I can reverse mount it in the chuck. So for this I'm going to use a 1/2 inch bowl gouge, nice and sharp. Right, so it's reverse mounted in the chuck now, and I'm going to face off the front and then start to shape the piece. There. Now I'm looking at the piece, and I can see in places it's a little bit punky. So for adding colour, that may not be absolutely brilliant, but we'll see when we get it down a little bit further. Now the lid needs an aperture, of course. About 69 millimeters or 68. So I'll do 65. I'll do 65, and then always make it a little bit more open if I want to, or if I need to. So I'm just going to mark where I want to stop actually doing. Just want to stop just to give it a little bit of give the top a little bit of a border around it, if that makes sense. And now the shape's done, I'm not entirely happy with it. It needs a bit of refining, shall we say, which I'll do in a bit. But for now, I need to start hollowing out the inside, and I'm going to use the spindle gouge for most of it, and then I'm going to use just to finish off the curve the Simon Hope hollowing tool. So move that out of the way. Right, there we go. That's now sanded down to 400, and I'm pretty pleased with it. There's a little bit of tear out just round here, but I'm not going to worry too much about it. Now comes the fun part. Adding some colour. I want it to be autumnal. So I'm looking for sort of fairly kind of rich colours. I need a little bit of brown in there, some reds, you know, and stuff. But I don't want it too, what's the word? I don't know, too kind of in your face. So got my gloves on, and I've got some kitchen towel, and I'm going to start with, what am I going to start with? I'm going to start with flame. So this is going to be really quite bright to start with, and there's some lovely figure in the wood already, and I'm not entirely certain how this is going to look, so I'm just going to stick the colour on and see how it looks. Yeah, you can see where the wood's a little bit on the punky side. So there's a little bit of flame. Let's get a bit of ruby in there as well. And I'm using exactly the same cloth. Yeah. Look at the punkiness of the wood. Well, that is quite a brave, is it a brave? I think it's a brave piece. It looks nice. I like it even with the tear out. And I'm going to finish it off with a coat of honey. Bring it all together. It's sinking, the colours are sinking a long way into the wood. I'm just going to finish the inside with earth. Oop. Colours added now. I've let it dry, and where the colours are water based and it raised the grain, I just knocked it back a little bit with one of these grey 3M pads. And I can now add the oil, and then I need to leave it overnight. Just make sure I've got all the dust out of it. Yeah, very pleased with that. And I'm going to use a little bit of oil. I'll probably just put on one coat just to enrich those colours a little bit. Ooh, moody. I think I'm going to add another coat because this is sinking in really quite deeply. So I'll add another coat in about 20 minutes or so, and then leave that to dry overnight, and then come back to it tomorrow for the final finish. Right then, the oil has gone off overnight as it's now Tuesday morning, and just looking at the piece again, I've got a 3M pad here, a 3M grey pad, which is the kind of the finest one they do, and I'm just knocking it back just a little bit, just in case there are any nibs on the oil or anything like that. And then I'm going to add probably at least 2, maybe even 3 coats of sealer, because this wood, as I said yesterday, is quite punky. It's going to need a reasonable amount of filling in order to put a decent finish on it. Look at that, that's come up absolutely gorgeous. Now I can leave that to dry, and I'll put another couple of coats on before we go down and do the final finish. Now the sanding seal is dry. I ended up putting on about 4 coats of it, but it feels dry enough now. I'm just going to glance over the top of it with the 3M pad just to denib it and make sure that the surface is nice and smooth. Now where I've got the tear out, where the wood's a little bit punky, I'm going to put in some gold wax. I'm going to rub that in, because everybody knows the leaves go golden in the autumn. And then when I'm happy that it's got into the tear out and stuff, I'm just going to rub off or buff off the excess and have another look at it. Get a little bit more in there. Then I can give that a little buffing off just to help it dry off a bit. Right, now I'm going to leave that to dry for 10-15 minutes, something like that, and then I can put on the final wax finish, which I'm really looking forward to. Now it's about 10 minutes later, 10-15 minutes later, something like that, and now I'm going to put the final finish on. I'm going to use my normal wax because I like it. Got the lathe spinning at about 1000 RPM, and I'm just going to wipe the wax on from the top to the bottom, and then just keep rubbing that just to kind of burnish it in a little bit. A little bit on the inside. Like that. I'm very pleased with how that's come out, but I can get an even better shine on it. So I'm going to do exactly the same thing again. I'm going to apply the wax by hand. And then leave it for a few minutes. Put a little bit more on the inside as well, I think. That second coat of wax that I applied by hand is very, very nearly dry. So I'm just going to really, really lightly buff it off so we don't remove any of the wax. We just smooth it over and bring it up to a nice shine. just like that, and I'm very, very pleased with how that has turned out. It needs a tiny little bit more time to dry off, and then we'll be good to take it off the lathe and put the jam chuck on it. It's on the jam chuck, it's nice and tight, and I've brought the tailstock up just to give it a little bit of extra support, so I can take the tenon off, and I'm going to use a little spindle gouge to do that, and have the piece spinning somewhere around 650 RPM, something like that, so I can get in there easily to carefully take off the tenon. Now I can sand the bottom of that now, and then it'll be finished. And here we are, here's the piece all done and dusted. I'm really pleased with how it's turned out. The colours are just as warm and as sumptuous as I was planning on, and the final finish over the piece is not too bright and it's not too dull. So overall, I'm really pleased with the piece, and it will make a very nice Christmas present for somebody. Well, thank you very much indeed for watching. If you have any comments or queries, do leave them below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. It may take me a few weeks, but I will get back to you if at all possible. And please do like, share and subscribe. And down here are a couple more videos I think you might be interested in. One from me and one from one of my colleagues on YouTube. Right. That's it for this week, folks. Thank you very much indeed for watching. I'll look forward to seeing you again soon for another project video. Bye for now.